Oh, here we go. Take off. Whoa!
Terrific guy.
Pass up ahead. Here's the exclamation point. Oh, the windmill.
Practice facility put NBA Finals balls as Anthony Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
Throws it down.
Oh.
Anthony Edwards sniffed out the steal here. Look out.
Anthony Edwards. Oh, the steal. Highlights. Oh, the windmill.
Yeah, simply put, just want to impart a little bit of wisdom on you guys today. Yo, go ahead on and like, share, subscribe to my channel. Leave in the comments in the comment section below. Your comments will be greatly appreciated. Today, I want to talk about this comment that Anthony Edwards made. He pretty much made a comment about former basketball players. So he said, I didn't watch it back in the day, so I can't speak on it. They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody had skill back then. Michael Jordan was the only one that really had skill, you know what I mean? The first thing that he says is, I really didn't watch it. He really not a student of the game. He's really not, and it's kind of a shame. You're an NBA player and you don't understand the history of basketball and where things have come from. You made it and you really haven't looked back on things, and that's fine. The thing about this comment coming from Anthony Edwards is the NBA is really trying to make you the face of the league. Like, they're really pushing to make you the face of the league. And I feel like he keeps doing things that kind of hindering him from really being the face of the NBA. He's very charismatic. He's a great athlete. He's a really good basketball player. He's really good at what he does. He's an athletic guy. He has confidence in himself. He doesn't have a problem speaking. He doesn't have a problem doing interviews, and he shows confidence. He's someone that has good energy, and people kind of gravitate towards his personality. So he is a good candidate to be kind of the face of the NBA. Sometimes you just got to understand when to say stuff and when not to say stuff. And he's still a young guy. So he's gonna learn. Eventually he's gonna learn and he's gonna get it. But to his comment saying that back in the day, in the Jordan era, the early 80s, late 90s, those guys didn't have any skill. You're kind of misinformed. And you said it yourself that you didn't watch it. But back in the day, in that particular era, that was the actual era of skill. Every position had a specific skill set. When they were drafting, and the team needed a point guard. They looked for the person who had the best skill. They didn't mind picking up a smaller guard who had skills at that position, who could handle the ball, who could call plays, who could make passes, who could make their team better, play defense, kind of hustle. Those are skills. If they needed a shooting guard, they will pick a shooting guard for what they needed. If they needed a shooter, like someone who could knock down shots, they would pick people. Certain people were more well-rounded than others. Of course, you want a more well-rounded person, but back in that time, they chose for skill. They really chose for skill. The small forwards were well-rounded. They could shoot. They could do a little bit of everything. The power forwards and the centers, they had skills with their back to the basket. They had post moves, something that the guys nowadays, they don't have post moves. Like, guys don't work on post moves, posting up and stuff like that. Those were specific skills. And you're saying that Jordan was the only one that had skills. Jordan was one of the greatest players ever. Jordan had athleticism. He had super athleticism, but he had skill with his athleticism. That's kind of what made him stand out in that time. The other guys, most guys had skill. They had to have a skill set to be on the court. But Jordan had skills and he had athleticism. So really what Anthony Edwards was talking about, he was talking about athleticism. Nowadays, the NBA players and the players that they bring in, they want them to have a certain level of athleticism. They want them to be a more well-rounded person. And a lot of times nowadays, they draft people off of their athletic ability and their height. Most NBA scouts, they want a guy who is between 6'7" and 6'10", who can run, who can jump, and they actually teach the skills later. Same thing with Anthony Edwards. It's kind of funny that Anthony Edwards said this because he came in off of pretty much raw athleticism. He didn't come in as a skilled person. He came in with super athleticism. He was freakishly athletic. He has a good body and he's an athlete. He's been working on his skill. When he first came into the league, he was athletic and he was just thriving off of his athleticism. Now he's working on his skills. He's been working. You can tell he's been working on his footwork. He still need to work on his mid-range jump shot. He still need to work on some things. So for him to say back in the day that the NBA players didn't have skills, he's wrong because all they had was skill. Someone like Larry Bird, he didn't have super athleticism, but he had a skill set to shoot the ball. He could shoot the ball, he could pass, he could dribble, he could handle himself in certain situations. Are you trying to say that Reggie Miller didn't have a skill set for shooting? He had a skill set. Those guys had skill set. The guards, the point guards, the Gary Paytons, the John Stocktons, those guys had skill set to handle the ball and pass the ball and play defense and set up plays. The centers, Elijah Warren, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, they had post moves. They had mid-range jumpers. Those guys had skills. Now you had your athletes back then. You had your Julius Ervings, who was just more athletic, Dominique Wilkins, guys like that who were more athletic than everybody. But Dominique Wilkins had a skill set too. He was just a free athlete. Guys like Sean Kemp, those guys were free athletes. But for the most part, a team was built in Jordan's time. They was built off of skill. And Jordan just had the ability to have skill and he had athleticism and he can kind of get over. Like if he went against someone who was athletic, he would use his skill. If he was against someone who just had skill, he would use his athletic. He would use what was his advantage. That's why when he went to the Washington Wizards and he wasn't as athletic, he still could score because he had skills. For him to say that guys didn't have skills, have you ever seen Rod Strickland? And people talk about Kyrie Irving as the best ball handler and finisher around the basket. Rod Strickland was the one who taught Kyrie Irving how to finish with both hands. Like you just gotta think about the history of basketball. Magic Johnson, he had skills. Somebody like Penny Hardaway. You trying to say Penny Hardaway didn't have skills? He was a 6'8" point guard who had skills. Someone like Grant Hill. Grant Hill was in that era. Grant Hill had skills. But those were the guys who were kind of coming up. And those are the type of guys that they want now. They want the guys kind of like the Grant Hills, who 6'7" to 6'10", who can handle the ball, who could shoot, who could do a little bit of everything. But there were guys like that back in the day. Guys like Magic Johnson, guys like Grant Hill, guys like Penny Hardaway, bigger guys who had skills. They had skills too. Nowadays, like I said, in the NBA, they just pick the most athletic and then they work on the skills later. Same thing that they did with Anthony Edwards. He's been working on his skills. So it's just like some things you just need to think about before you speak. Like I think he misinterpreted like skill for athleticism. But back in Jordan time, they were all skill. Like most of the teams were skill anyway. So for him to say that there were no skills, period, that was, he shouldn't have said that. He was wrong. He was wrong for saying that. So anyway, just want to impart a little bit of wisdom on you guys today. Yoda, go ahead on and like, share, subscribe to my channel. Leave in the comments in the comment section below. Your comments will be greatly appreciated. And like I always say, I love you guys millions, and I'll talk to you later. Global.